A Complete Unknown is the unofficial sequel to Walk the Line. I have to believe that because it's got the same director and does feature the same featured character. Is that actually true? Absolutely not. This is the Bob Dylan movie. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Movie Health Community, the internet's #1 source of health warnings at the movies. So yeah, this is the musical biopic about Bob Dylan, featuring a lead performance by Timothée Chalamet, doing his own singing, it seems, and as far as I could tell, his own playing. We'll talk about the musical aspects of this movie in a minute, but first, let's talk safety. Is this movie safe for photosensitive audiences? The answer is no, but hear me out. Almost the entire movie is completely free of strobe lights. There's maybe 1 or 2 camera flashes in the first 80 to 85% of this movie. Just single flashes from single cameras. For the first 85 to 90% of this movie, there are no strobe effects. We get to a final concert sequence that it seems like it's been building up to for a little while, probably about the last half hour of the movie. And 3 or 4 songs are played in this concert, but this scene is filled with the flashes of cameras from all directions. So this one scene is absolutely not safe for photosensitive audiences, and it is pretty much the climax of the whole movie, but everything before it is completely safe. So because of that divided nature on that, and because there is important stuff that you're gonna miss during those strobe effects, we're gonna give A Complete Unknown a 6 out of 10 for flashing lights. I can't believe this, but with this being a musical biopic that's rated R, I don't have any mental health triggers to talk about. So let's get into the review. Is this movie any good? I think this is a very genre-specific question. In the genre of musical biopics, yes, it is a high-tier movie. But I feel like at this point we have to acknowledge that the genre of the musical biopic is a very inherently boring movie. I feel like I was in some denial about Walk the Line, but Walk the Line is boring. Bohemian Rhapsody is kind of boring. Rocket Man is pretty good. That one's definitely an exception. So if you have a musical artist who has such an eccentric personality as Elton John, or have such an eccentric idea as Rocket Man had, yes, keep making musical biopics. But if you're gonna keep straight up adapting vignettes from the lives of these famous artists and dramatizing them, that's just boring. You got a real uphill battle ahead of you if you're making a musical biopic. So yeah, pretty much just all this movie is Timothée Chalamet doing a really good Bob Dylan impression and singing, and then some really boring scenes in between. There's one plot line that does have some emotional resonance to it involving a disabled person, and that does wrap up in a very satisfactory way. The inclusion of Johnny Cash as a character was not interesting, including the politics around Bob Dylan's style and what he sings about. That was boring. Just about the best scenes of this movie were the scenes where Bob Dylan is singing, or where anybody is singing. I like playing the who's who at this point of who was in Top Gun Maverick and where they are now. So to see Monica Barbaro in her first big role since Top Gun Maverick, playing Joan Baez, definitely a departure from her role in Top Gun Maverick, and I love seeing that level of versatility. Let's keep demonstrating more versatility like that. Even though this is probably the best musical biopic of the year, I still think that the best performance in a musical biopic this year is Kingsley Ben-Adir as Bob Marley, back in Bob Marley One Love from, I think, this last February. And the only other competition I can even think of that this movie would have with that is the Amy Winehouse movie, Back to Black, that's what that was called. Yeah, that one was also really boring, even though that one had drug-fueled binges to spice things up a little bit. That movie still ended up being really dull. So, to cap it all off, in all the musical biopics this year, the lead performances have been great. but it's just shining a light on how boring the musical biopic genre actually is. The other positive I'll give this movie is that Edward Norton completely disappeared into the role. I fully believed he was the character he was playing and not just Edward Norton with makeup. So I am going to give A Complete Unknown a C. Just a solid C, because the craft on display was perfect. It was just a boring movie. Thank you so much to our readers on Tumblr and Facebook, and as always, an extra special thanks to our patrons on our Patreon page whose names are scrolling on the screen like credits right now. As a reminder, nothing produced by Movie Health Community is medical advice, nor has any of it been reviewed by any medical professionals. Be sure to leave a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post new videos, and leave a comment if you have anything to add to this discourse, especially if you disagree with anything I've said. We love hearing from you. And as always, stay safe at the movies.